What's going on there, folks? Good Friday afternoon, morning, depends on where you're at. June 24th, 2022 is the date. About 11:32 a.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 2.0. Looks like in the area of Southern California, right around the border region. Last night, if you noticed here on the Earthquake 3D globe, we had quite a bit of swarming around the South America region and the Pacific Plate. Seen quite a bit of upper 5 activity. Look at all that movement. It's been quite a while since I've seen that type of activity down here along the plate systems. That's just a lot of activity in a short amount of time. That was last night. We haven't really seen too much activity ramp up around this region. South America, yes, and it looks like the West Coast as well. Let's go ahead and jump right into it here with the latest info here from the USGS map showing that, look at all that activity here. And you can't tell me, this almost looks like something you would see over here along the Western Pacific. This is a lot of activity stretching up here through the South America region and the East Pacific Rise region right around Easter Island. Seen a whole bunch of movement. Let me check out all these magnitudes here. Let's go to let's see, I know we had a couple upper 5s there. Looks like the largest one so far was a 5.8 out here in the East Pacific Rise, just north of the Easter Island area. But man, it's a lot. I'm telling you, it's a lot. It's been a long time since I've seen anything like that pop up here. What it means could mean a couple different things here. When we get this rift zone out here along the East Pacific Rise region, it does tend to push further pressure here along the Peru-Chile Trench and also areas around the New Zealand area. We did see some further movement down south here along the Antarctica and Pacific Plate with a 5.7. But wow, it's incredible to see that amount of activity. And most of it all popped up within a couple hours last night. I was for sure thinking that we would be waking up to a bigger earthquake here along the Peru-Chile Trench. But for now, what do we got? We did have some activity kick up here. At least one of these earthquakes, 4.6, into the Chile or the Argentina area, but down dip 195 kilometers here into the Peru-Chile Trench. A little bit of shallow earthquake activity north of there, but also some further movement off the coast of Peru with a 5.1 at 71 kilometers. So got to watch this area really closely and not for sure exactly what it's going to do or what it's pointing towards, but it's a lot of activity in that region. Let's see, California, I know we'd lighten up pretty good in terms of microquakes. Let's go ahead and look up this activity real quick here, just south of the border. Looks like right smack dab on the border. Seen a little swarm of activity here, about 9 kilometers or so below the surface for a bunch of microquakes. Looks like it's well off the Imperial Fault. Nothing really going on along the San Andreas Fault or the Brawley seismic zone today. But that doesn't mean this activity can't start up a swarm or a big one on there. Let's see, what do we got up here? Maywood, California, 1.6 at 14 kilometers there underneath the concrete jungles of LA. Little activity over here around Death Valley as well. Seen a 1.9 popping up there in the mountains. Overall seismic activity definitely on the increase, it seems, here along the west coast, up and down the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault, getting a line of activity here. So yeah, that's a bunch of activity there on the fault system. Plate boundary, majority of it definitely microquakes. I think we did have one 3.3. This one came in last night. It looks like kick up on that area of the San Andreas Fault, the creeping section. But the majority up and down the board, microquakes. Long Valley supervolcano, only a handful of quakes. Looks like about 11 earthquakes or so. The majority of this, looks like some of it kicked off just earlier. But prior to that, we've seen most of the movement last night and yesterday afternoon. So we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Sometimes these swarms come and go. They stick around for months. Sometimes they hang out for a day and they disappear. Let's see what else we got. Texas, a little bit of activity around the New Madrid zone over here too. Around the Missouri and Arkansas area, a couple small microquakes, but within the New Madrid zone there. It's a little active, it looks like. Got 3 earthquakes on the map, but where's the other one hiding? Ah, there we go. Underneath this one. About 9 kilometers or so. Although, look at this earthquake. 1.8 at 24 kilometers. That's some rather deep earthquake activity here for this region. Let's see here. It has been reviewed, so it does look like it's standing as far as the depth goes. Kind of unusual to see that deep of an earthquake here in this region. So that's down there a little bit, folks. Definitely got to watch it. Who knows? Grab me a drink of some ice cold soda, considering it's almost 100 outside already. Let's see, what do we got here around the Idaho area up through Montana and Wyoming here. Looks a little activity kicking up in the microquake range here in Idaho. Yellowstone National Park. Only a couple spotty earthquakes up there. Let me see what we got on the seismographs. Looks like not a whole lot. It is picking up some of the activity down here around the Idaho region, but as far as Yellowstone independently, not a whole lot going on as far as earthquake activity goes. Pacific Northwest, relatively quiet as well. Got 1 earthquake outside of Seattle. Well, outside of Seattle, I should say, 2.6 at 52 kilometers deep into the, we got the Cascadia subduction zone up here, right? Kind of goes inland. Well, I should say underneath the plate here. Down dip. Pretty deep earthquake there for that region. A little swarming activity up here around the Juneau, Alaska region. A couple 2s and even a 3 mixed in. Looks like most of this activity here, well, from earlier this morning, it looks like 1500. Yeah, just about 3 or 4 hours ago, some activity stretching into that area. Also up through the Alaska mainland region. Looks like the Aleutian Trench kind of dying off somewhat today. The Big Island, before I accidentally skip over it, looks pretty, looks a little bit less than what we were seeing yesterday. Yesterday, this thing was popping off like crazy around the Pahala area. But today, mostly 2s and a couple microquakes around the southeast region of the Big Island. Over here around the Philippine plate, around Taiwan, getting a swarm of activity once again here. 4s and even a 5.1 kicking up just off of this trench. Looks like we could be pointing to possibly some further large-scale movement. I know this area has seen some large-scale movement in the past, but that doesn't mean that's all that's built up here. So got to watch this region pretty closely when we see swarms like that around this plate boundary and this area of the Philippine plate. Around the Solomon Islands, a couple earthquakes. New Zealand is showing some movement here on the EMSC model. Go ahead and bring up the EMSC chart and see what we got here. Hopefully this will be working. Not for sure what's going on. A little slow, it looks like. I don't believe that's on my side. Let me refresh this once again. Okay, that was kind of weird. Low activity. Looks like a couple 4s in the mix here around New Zealand. This not showing up on the USGS map, even though it should. It's above the 4.0 threshold. So there's some 4s here south of the North Island area, and it looks like a couple other smaller quakes too, including a 4.0 just into the Kermadec Trench, it looks like. So definitely some heightened activity here, which we would expect following the movement that we've seen over here along the eastern Pacific. Definitely putting a little bit of strain here along the Kermadec Trench areas. Quite a few microquakes up and down the board through the Indonesia area, and a swarm of activity, of course, mostly 2s and 3s along the Peru-Chile Trench and the Middle America Trench. That's all pretty common to see. I know it doesn't look like that on the let's bring up the USGS model, but you got to remember these guys only showing 4.0 and above, and sometimes they don't even include the 4s. We're missing 3 of them here throughout the Kermadec Trench and the New Zealand area. So, yeah, that's not for sure what's going on with the lack of reporting. But man, I just can't help but wonder what's going on here with this activity. The Caribbean plate's been pretty active recently in the past couple of weeks, and now we're just getting swarms of activity on all the plate boundaries here, just west of the South America region. There's a couple different plates there that run up. Against the South American continent there. Hold on, stand by for just a second. Alrighty, try not to cough again. I keep getting these weird tickles in my throat, and it's just strange. It's only when I jump on the microphone. So yeah, activity spread out, and as I mentioned, right here along these plate boundaries, got the Pacific plate here, right, and the large, somewhat large compared to, well, not really compared to the Pacific, but the Nazca plate. It's going to be this area right here showing activity all around it. And up here around the Cocos plate, got the Caribbean plate here, the Cocos plate, little mini plate system. This kind of spreading apart right here where this earthquake struck. This here is a fault system that spreads here, right? You got the subduction zone over here. Both of these are spreading centers. So a little bit of activity definitely working their way around this area. It's kind of I just can't help but wonder what's going on there. Might be something to watch for sure, folks. We'll see in the coming days or hours maybe. But yeah, pretty crazy. I just can't get over that. A 4.5 in Iceland. That one was from last night or late afternoon time frame. Since then, not a whole lot going on throughout the Atlantic Ocean. A little bit of movement throughout the Middle East, it looks like, around Iran again still. And some movement in Afghanistan and north. But most of the activity definitely been over here. So, all right, let's see. Let's move on from here. Yellowstone's quiet. The tremor map from last night's been relatively quiet as well. Tonight, just heads up, I am going to cover up a lot more info on East Coast earthquake activity. You guys remember that 3.9 that kicked up in the Georgia area, right? Well, they had a little bit of damage and some sinking of the land out there, liquefaction, land movement, right? You get the ground kind of acting as a liquid, so to speak, but it kind of sinks like quicksand. And that 3.9, with that 3.9, there was definitely a little bit of damage around this area. So we're going to take a look at the what causes that out here along the East Coast. And the West Coast does have areas of that type of event as well, but not from a 3.9. 3.9. That's kind of crazy. Here we go again with the tickle. Not for sure what's going on. All right, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. I still have a lot of schoolwork to do, but we will be covering that tonight in some detail. We'll take a look at the East Coast activity and possibilities of what ifs and whatnot. We'll take a look at some of the damage from that 3.9 as well. Solar space weather activity. It looks like these are not as they should be. Still kind of looking odd. Looks like kind of looks like these three images here have not been updated yet. Let's see when this was updated. 624. UTC time of 0054. So that's way off. That's almost like a day off here. Most recent images is going to be this one right here, I believe. Yep. Oh, wait a minute. What's going on with that? 621? That's a little odd, isn't it? 623, 624. Huh, a little odd. All right, so I may have to go through the space weather prediction center, but that's where these guys get their images from. So I don't know. It's kind of a little on the strange side. Either way, some outdated images, but I believe the solar X-ray chart, the one that kind of gives us the data on flaring, is up to date. Looks like we might be having a little C flare kicking in, but aside from that, not a whole lot of activity. We'll take a look at it a little bit later on with the Friday night update, right around I'll probably do it around 7 o'clock West Coast time. All right, till then, folks, I got to figure this thing out. That is not good. I utilize my voice. When I don't have my voice, that's not good. Might have to have Missy Mimi step in for me. Have her take over. All right, guys, we'll be back Friday night update coming up at 7 o'clock tonight. Have a good day. Stay safe out there. And again, just be on guard. There's definitely been a lot of movement and a little uncertainty as to what it's pointing towards. But stay safe. We'll chat you guys a little bit later.